Good evening. Years ago, while studying Okinawan karate, there was a text I was looking at that talked about mind like water, that we should have a mind like water, or develop the ability to have a mind like water. That is to say, still, placid, reflecting accurately what is in front of it, like a mirror. I think that today we have trouble with this. Maybe we always did. I don't know. But it occurs to me that people today feel that if their feelings are hurt, somehow that's harming them. That it's perhaps even traumatic. That if they're offended, that offense is toxic and does psychological or emotional harm to the person or to them. I wonder about that. I think that there's a movement afoot to do what is called creeping, having the word trauma creep into something, into a domain where it's really not trauma, but we like to think of it as trauma. And the traumatic injury that results. So that in the politically correct movement, if we offend someone, we're causing them harm, perhaps traumatic harm, and great emotional distress, and so on. I think that it's important to realize and come to terms with the fact that feeling unsafe, for example, is not equal to feeling uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is uncomfortable. Unsafe is a different thing. Yet, it seems to me that when someone feels uncomfortable, they may feel unsafe. And as a result of that feeling, suggests strongly that the person who's making them feel uncomfortable not do so. This happens, I think, from what I'm understanding in universities a lot, where students have claimed that their discomfort with a topic or with a text, maybe an author, has caused them harm. And so they want that text or that author removed from the curriculum, or at the very least, to have trigger warnings posted or announced so that anyone who has experienced something of the nature being discussed, that it may be a possible trigger for them, and that they need to find a safe space, quote unquote. Um, you know, the reality is, in my opinion anyway, the world is unsafe. It simply is. That we will be insulted, offended by a variety of mechanisms in a variety of contexts, no matter what. It seems to me that in terms of higher education at least, we should be able to think critically, come to terms with those things without denying the person's right to speak. Seems to be what's happening, that if a speaker, an invited speaker, is talking about something that we feel is antithetical to our position, or harmful to the planet, or harmful to us as individuals, that we should stop them from being able to speak. An abridgment of the freedom of speech. I think that is a problem for universities, because universities, ostensibly anyway, are there to train you to discover the truth. And to discover the truth, you have to be confronted by something that you are critically able to analyze and consider. Otherwise, you're not thinking critically. You're simply parroting something that somebody else has said, and not thinking for yourself. In any event, I think we need to clarify some things, that feeling uncomfortable is not feeling unsafe, although we may feel that way. Our feelings are not predominant. They shouldn't have ascension. Our reason should. That is to say, that we have three, what I'm calling the big three: patience, feeling, and reason. That is to say, we should have patience with the ignorant, patience with those who we disagree with, and so on. And we should recognize that we have feelings, and those feelings are important, but they can lead to a breakdown in our ability to deal with situations if we give way to those feelings. Hence, reason comes into play. It's important, I think, that we reason through the experiences we have and learn from them, which means to me that reason should be something that binds feeling, so that we're not running off emotionally, the sky is falling, or something like that, when in fact it's not falling. It's simply we have a thunderstorm coming, or something of that nature. So it's interesting in the kanji world, patience is written with a shin under it as part of the kanji. And shin means heart mind, and so patience involves the heart and mind of a person, perhaps an expansion of their ability to be compassionate, or something like that. Feeling also contains shin, heart mind. That is to say that it's about the heart and mind. And reason, interestingly enough, is associated with freedom. So, in a way, you might say that reason frees us from the potential toxicity of feeling, or the misdirection that feeling may send us in. Now, I know this is hard for many of us. We don't want to feel bad. We don't want to feel abused. We don't want to feel intimidated. We don't want to feel vulnerable. We don't want to feel injured. We don't want to feel lots of negative things. And yet, the reality is that we will feel those things. And it seems to me that we darn well better figure out how to deal with that without silencing someone else in the process. Realizing that a feeling injury is not really an injury. Injury is, to me, is something physical. I broke my arm, I broke my knee, I broke my leg. That's an injury. I cut myself while shaving. That's an injury. But to experience someone offending us is not an injury by any stretch. It's simply a feeling that we have been assaulted on some level verbally. It reminds me of the old childhood adage, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. I think we need to reinstill that in the minds of our children, and even some of our adults and college students. Words are just words. That's all. How we understand them, how we take them in, what we do with them, that's our business. That's our responsibility. No one can make me feel anything. They're going to create conditions within which I may feel something, but they're not making me feel it. I'm choosing to feel it the way I do. I'm choosing to interpret how I feel about it. I'm choosing to think about it in a certain way. I can just as easily think about it in an alternative way. And cognitive therapists, for example, often work with that. We can change our thought, which changes the feeling, which changes the behavior. Or we can change the behavior, which changes the thought and changes the feeling, and so on. These three things thought, feeling, and behavior are interrelated, they're interconnected, and it's hard to separate them. Anyway, I just thought it would be an interesting topic of discussion, this whole business of the toxicity of injury through words, and a sense of feeling unsafe instead of feeling uncomfortable. Let's call what it is what it is. Hey, thank you.